It for about 4 or 5 years, then the rain stopped and the wind started to blow and we had the Dust Bowl. And what people don't realize, in the 1920s, people plowed up land the size of Ohio. That's how much it was. So I wanted to also explore that story about this American dream and that American optimism. I think it's both the source of our greatest achievements and some of our worst follies. But I wanted to tell that story through one family. The book is told in 3 perspectives, 3 points of view. One is Miles Vinson. He's a 13-year-old boy on the prairie in the 1930s. One is his grandson, Andy, in 2002. And the third point of view is the Coyote's point of view in the 1930s. Because I approached the Coyote as being, this would be someone who would see the world changing without the overlay of man's ambition to change it. So I'm going to, best place to start is the beginning. Bona, Colorado, 1930. Only when the gopher fell from the sky, nearly hitting him, did Miles Vinson put down his axe and look up. A red-tailed hawk, having dropped its kill, flapped hard towards the mountains. The dark mare kicked at her stall. Even the cows bawled in panic. But the prairie wind, something as constant as crickets on a warm night, was silent, gone. Miles ran through the yard, scattering the chickens into flight. He climbed the windmill, ignoring the splinters cutting his hands. Half a mile to the south, he saw it. A red-brown cloud of dust rolling along the ground, swallowing barns, tractors, and farmhouses into darkness. Ahead of the cloud, all was strangely still. Dust. Miles heard a frightened yip in the prairie grass. "Go home," he called, as if the animal could understand. Fast. Out in the prairie grass, a coyote pup ran in circles. All around him, he sensed fear. It wasn't snow, for the day was hot. It wasn't rain, for his tongue was dry. And it wasn't darkness, for the sun glowed as red as blood. The first blast of dust stung the pup's ears and tore small slits across his nose. The next threw him against a thorny bush. His fall flushed on a family of quail into the dust-choked air. The pup pressed his chest against the earth and held on. He tried not to breathe, for each breath tore at his throat. Tumbleweeds rolled over him, snagging his ears. A grain of sand crept under his eyelid, and he felt one grain grow into many. After a time, fear gave way to confusion. The pup thought the wind was his mother's rough tongue, and the dirt pressing against him was his pack, sleeping as one warm bundle. When the wind slowed, the dust settling on the grass sounded like rain. The pup tried to raise his head, but it was too heavy. His legs were very too deep to move, but he could sense the sun sinking low in the sky and the shadows of vultures overhead. Then he heard the rustle of feet. He hoped his pack had come to help him, to lead him to water. All he wanted was water, to drench his face, his lips, his snout, his tongues, his eyes, his ears, deep into water. Muddy, icy, rank, it didn't matter. Water. He opened one eye. The other he couldn't move. A small human stood over him, a boy. The pup knew to stay far from humans, for they had loud teeth that bit from afar. He growled, but the sound that came from his mouth was no more than a hiss. Then the boy ran from sight, and the pup drifted into a place beyond sleep, until a new smell intruded. Water. The boy had returned and smelled of water. Staring into the boy's eyes, the pup expected to see the eagerness of killing. Instead, he saw fear. The pup knew fear. He had seen it in the eyes of prairie dogs that looked back at the teeth that had grabbed them. The boy dripped water near the pup's lips. He had water. The pup tried to wag his tail, but only the tip moved with the smallest twitch. "I won't bite you," he wanted to tell the boy. "I will never bite you, and I will never let anything bite you, if you give me water." Evanston, Illinois, fall 2002. At a suburban high school, a bell sounded. Andy looked down at his assignment, "How I Made the World a Better Place This Summer." He figured his classmates were writing perfect essays about helping the homeless and composting table scraps. He had written only his name, Andrew Vincent McKay. He hadn't made the world a better place. He had made it worse. Below his name, he had drawn a coyote pup, half buried in thrown dust. Around the pup, tall stalks of grass lay beaten down by the wind. Lean vultures flew overhead. He had sketched a fragment from one of Grandpa's stories, one of the few he could remember. Andy put down his pen. Grandpa had been wrong to ask. He should have done it himself. Andy wasn't the right person for the job. Remembering what people told him, writing things down, he had trouble with all of that. Ask his teachers. They would tell you about half-finished papers, illegible exams, catch-up work never caught up. Anyway, Grandpa is dead, Andy told himself, so the promise doesn't count. He tore his paper into small pieces and tossed them into the air.